Katyusha's Redemption by Reading in Solitude. First edition, Part 1. Chapter 1. Begin session. The accused Katyusha has been found guilty of all charges by a jury of her own peers. For her crimes committed, we will now begin deliberation of punishment for the crimes done against the people of this nation. We cannot forget that Katyusha's terror struck not only our community, but many others as well. The people call for an execution, but others say we should wait for the unification of our nation once more, under one ruler, one governance, and one people. Do any of those present have suggestions for a suitable punishment for Katyusha? Katyusha stood still where she was on the podium and watched the crowd before her shift. Her bright blue eyes were hidden from those around her by her blonde hair that covered them. "I do," spoke a man from the crowd. He stood above the rest and seemed to limp a bit. "Come forward," ordered the judge. "That damn Katyusha got my whole family killed, huh? Sent them off to war, and never returned. I want her to feel the same way I did," spat the man with vitriol. "To know what it's like having your whole family taken from you. To be left alone, a cripple like me, without so much as a damn family to take care of you." A woman from the other side of the courtroom stood. "She had my land stolen from me, her and her army, and she left me and my family out on the streets. We had no choice but to let our own daughter sell herself as a prostitute just for us to get by. She should be made to do the same. She should know my pain," screamed the woman. Katyusha winced but did her best to show no emotions. "Order! Order!" shouted the judge. "I understand Katyusha has caused great hardship for us all in this room. But is there anyone who disagrees with the decision to have her be executed? It sounds like that is what the people want, judging by the voices of this room." "No!" yelled one of the attendees. "We want her to suffer." "Your Honor," spoke a voice from the back of the courtroom. Everyone looked back to see a dark-haired woman with blue eyes step forward. Katyusha recognized her immediately and softened her eyes, as she did her best not to cry, even if nobody could see her. "Nona," she whispered. "If I may, Your Honor, I beg you show mercy on Katyusha." "And why should we do that?" yelled somebody in the crowd. "Yeah, she never showed any of us mercy," replied another. "Perhaps, but—" began the woman, trying to defend Katyusha. Hey, you're the one who served under her. You don't deserve to have a say here," yelled a third person. "Get her the hell out of here," yelled several of the attendees. "Order! Order!" yelled the judge. Katyusha watched in horror as the crowd began pushing the woman she knew out of the courtroom. The woman grasped for anything that she could, in order to stay inside while Katyusha could do nothing more than watch. Her fists balled and she pulled at the shackles, but she could not move. At that moment the door to the courtroom opened. There stood a man with a gun held low on his hip. He stood tall above the rest, and those of the courtroom relented to him. "If I may have a say in this," spoke the man, "I'd like to give contest to the current sentencing." A low murmur spread across the courtroom, and the onlookers let go of the woman who initially stood up to give defense for Katyusha. He walked with confidence and with authority. Each bootstep landed with a thump. His gaze was fixed only on the judge, who watched equally the man approaching the front of the courtroom. "If it isn't Vanya, the hunter of tyrants," stated the judge. The judge looked down on the man standing before him and shifted his glasses. "What do you wish to tell the courtroom?" "Your Honor, I ask humbly that you let Katyusha go." The room once more stirred into a frenzy as Vanya's last word left his mouth. The judge pounded his gavel several times and once more screamed for order, and as the courtroom calmed down once more, the judge looked back down to Vanya. "Let her go. Vanya, are you without your senses?" "No, Your Honor." "I wish to take her from this place." "And do what with her?" asked the judge. I wish to rehabilitate her." The judge laughed at Vanya, followed shortly by the howls of the crowd in the courtroom. But Vanya's face did not change. He simply watched the judge until at last the judge calmed and returned Vanya's gaze. "You're serious?" "I am, sir," replied Vanya. The crowd booed. "Vanya, you've served your people well. No one will take offense with your mistake if you just leave now." "This isn't a mistake." "How do you plan to rehabilitate one such as her? She is beyond redemption," cried the judge. "You call yourself a holder of justice? You've already made up your mind. The trial isn't even over, and you already have your decision on her guilt, her punishment, and what you see as justice. Just give me a damn chance. Give me a chance to save her," exclaimed Vanya. "And if she cannot be helped, then what?" asked the judge, leaning into his hands as he eyed Vanya. "Then I shall take her place. I'll serve whatever punishment you wish to give her," replied Vanya. No, both of you will be punished if you fail. I'll give you 1 year to rehabilitate her. Should you fail," the judge looked to the crowd who cheered in response, "violate her, hang them in the town square. Then I think you know your fates," smiled the judge. Vanya did not flinch at the man's threats nor the words. Instead, he simply answered, "Very well, then. If that is how it must be, then I shall agree to your demands." Katyusha gasped, and for the first time in her trial she showed emotions visible to all. "Court dismissed," called the judge as 3 soldiers moved forward and seized Katyusha, dragging her out of the courtroom and making her ready to be taken away by Vanya, the man who had just saved her.